Good morning, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do, the usual disclaimers. Now, it is probably already out in this time because we all know I back record these videos, but there is going to be a rant in regards to this insanity world that we now live in where we're supposed to believe that the Republicans are against the military industrial complex and they're anti-war. Uh, uh, it's a bold-faced lie, folks. But we'll get into that in another video. Folks, if you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Please, in particular, take note of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics. In it, they interviewed over 900 ABA professionals regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic refused. You know the drill. Please read the article. Share it on all your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case the JRC actually does decide to see through with their threat. All right, trigger warning one: when we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center and Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're gonna hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones. Trigger warning 2: this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously, parental supervision is advised, all right? All right, so where we left off the other day, folks. As for other physical harms, the FDA disagrees that the shock strength of ESDs is not capable. Oh, we already read this, folks. I got to go further down. Sorry. Oh, nope, I haven't read all of this. Sorry. I am not awake. It's batshit insane to believe that if you are using an instrument that is firing off an electric range into a kid just barely below the lethal limit, and you truly believe, that there's not going to be some physical ramifications to doing that, especially when you do it repeatedly, then I got beachfront property in Kansas I can sell you. Because, goddamn. In our analysis of physical risks in the proposed rule, we explained that the literature contains reports of tissue damage that ranged from burns to bruises, with all the medical documentation to back it up. See, this is the difference, folks. It's a whole different ballgame if when you're putting out those accusations, you got the evidence to back it up. All right? Wholly different ballgame to what we're used to in the news where we're just supposed to believe shit. Yeah. Anyways, going further, shall we? As discussed further in the next comment response, the literature is supported by evidence contained in numerous comments to the docket, including those from INSEAD, the U.S. Department of Justice, and a former employee of the JRC. In other words, the literature, the data, the science is being backed by all the major studies going on in the United States, folks. Okay? Yeah, that. And to also put in there, just to rub salt in the wound, that a lot of information came from a former employee of the JRC is just the icing on the cake. Saying, bro, we know what you get up to behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying? Other risks that FDA identified in the scientific literature, including increased frequency or bursts of self injury and errant shocks from device misapplication or failure. If you remember back when we've gone through all the reports, not only do we have witness testimony of exactly that happening, but there's also DESI reports, surveillance camera footage, and ER documents. All that's to back it up. Okay? This is not something that the JRC says happens rarely either. If you want to go back and read the receipts, it's Autistic Hoya's massive archive. We link it in every single video. All right. Let's also talk about the fact that it could actually cause more self-injury, self-harm. If you've been through abuse. Hi, how you doing? That was my childhood and a little bit of my adulthood. Okay? Yeah. When you have self-injurious behavior, we'll use their term, even though self-harm is self-harm, regardless of if it's a neurotypical or not. Just saying. So, saying in regards to self-harm, if you are getting abused, when you are abused, and you let your abuser's mentality in regards to you get inside of you, get in your head, what it can cause is an extreme form of self-hatred. And that self-hatred, and I can vouch for this personally from my own life, can, and more often than not does, end up with self-injurious behavior. Where it's, if it's slamming your head in the wall, or slamming the brush into your head, or slamming your head into the floor, clawing up your arms, or let's just use Matthew Israel's terms, you're gouging out your eyeballs, you can actually cause yourself self-injurious behavior because the abuse that you are going through due to a building of self-hatred, folks. I can speak to it personally. All right. As discussed further in the next comment response, the literature is supported by evidence contained in numerous comments to the docket. So, this is what we just went over. The science, the data, the facts, it backs basically it backs a complete abandonment of aversive therapy in the physical form. It has gotten rid of pretty much almost all forms of physical punishment, almost, because we're still dealing with improper restraints and kids that die every year because of it. Not to mention you get where I'm going with this, right? The seclusion rooms. All right. In addition, the FDA considered risks identified through other sources, which provide further support for the physical risks reported in the literature and indicate that ESDs are associated with additional physical risks of neuropathy and potentially less serious injuries from falling. This should be the most obvious thing on planet Earth. If you have an electrode that is strapped to your legs, in particular because the JRC are particularly sadist bastards, They stick it to particular muscles on your legs. If that thing gets fired, if you know how electricity works, that is, that electricity will surge in those muscles and you will drop to the floor. This is just basic logic here. Anybody who wants to sit there and say that they don't see that as a risk is lying their ass off, because this is just basic common sense. You don't need to have a mother who works where mine has worked for over the last 40 years to know that much electricity being shot directly into a leg muscle is going to cause falls. Okay? Just saying. And to also remind them, I appreciate this, of the fact that the ER documents and evidence. Evidence, for the love of God, people, tattoo it, the word, on your brains. The evidence from those ER documents shows quite clearly the risks that the FDA is talking about here. Okay? I mean, folks, this is pretty clear. When they're talking about the potential risks where they get their information is not pulling complete bullshit from the stratosphere. They are getting it from actual ER medical documents where students of the JRC were in such a state that they had to go to an ER. Okay? This is where those documents are coming from. This is not coming from a biased source. This is coming from medical ER doctors, professionals with far more letters behind their name than Matthew Israel has ever had. These are their documents of the state that they found the student when they came into them and what they did to try and treat the student. That is where the information is coming from. It's not coming from, oh, the neurodiversity movement, and they're just influencing you into agenda. First of all, it should not be considered an agenda to want to be treated like a human being. Please and thank you. That's not an agenda. It's basic human. You get where I'm going. It's basic human decency. For the love of God. All right. It's the advocates. They're sinister of all the things. Because most of us are broke, folks. I hate to, bust the JRC bubble, but this idea that there is wealth behind us is just out and out stupid. But you get what I'm saying here. We did not influence the FDA to think one way or the other. We provided the evidence and the receipts and had them take a look at them themselves. Okay? This is not bias. It's the fact that, like I've said in previous videos, the science does not back what the JRC says. Nor does the evidence back the parents coming forward saying it doesn't cause physical harm, because as the FDA is telling you here quite blatantly, we've got dozens of ER documents that beg to differ. We're going to close on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, if you could, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit those comments. I appreciate your time. As always, folks, we here at Smelling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.